The latest. Thank you for your love and support. Our all in all, our savior, protector, our unifier, our most love. Niger has cut all ties with France. Streets that were given French names, he has taken everything out and renamed them with our African names. This is amazing. This is what we have to start doing. If truly we are free from colonialism and everything about colonialism, we should look for prominent African figures and name our streets after them. Especially those who are our freedom fighters, those who gave us the liberation. Why should we have colonial names on our streets? If truly we are free from colonialism and we claim we have our freedom, we should have our local names on our streets, on everything that have to do with us. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are showing us how things should be done. You wouldn't go to Paris or anywhere and have African names. Look at Congo, the people that fought and lost their lives just to save the Westerners. You will never go there to see anything named after these blacks or Africans who sacrificed their lives to give them the better Europe. Why should it be so in Africa? Why should we be free, yet they are controlling everything? We have to take total control over everything that is ours. Have our own names. Now our names, our food, everything has been westernized. The same people who colonize us are naming us. And this thing is being done. We are passing it on to our children. United we stand, divided we fall. So that's the latest around the world, in Africa, West Africa, and in Niger.
When countries gain independence, they often seek to redefine themselves, choosing new names and symbols that resonate with their culture, history, and values. However, this is not a universal practice. Many African nations continue to use the names imposed upon them by colonial powers, a stark reminder of the long, complex legacy of colonialism on the continent. Yet for Niger, the situation is beginning to diverge significantly. Since General Abdourahmane Tchiani seized power, Niger has embarked on a bold journey of distancing itself from its colonial past, particularly its ties to France. In an unexpected and decisive move, Niger is now rewriting a significant chapter in its history. In a clear and assertive push to free itself from the lingering vestiges of colonial influence, Nigerian authorities have initiated an ambitious campaign to rename streets, monuments, and public squares that bear the imprint of French colonialism. This symbolic yet powerful gesture is unfolding in the midst of rising tensions between Niamey and Paris, signaling a strong desire to reclaim and reinforce Niger's national identity. The portrait of Parfait Louis Montet, a French colonial commander and explorer, has been replaced by an image of Thomas Sankara, the revered Pan-African revolutionary and icon. This wave of change is not occurring in isolation. It follows closely on the heels of similar actions taken by Burkina Faso, which recently launched its own program to shed colonial names and symbols. These actions reflect a growing movement across West Africa to assert independence not just politically, but culturally and historically, erasing the colonial markers that still linger in public spaces. For Niger, these moves are more than symbolic. They represent a conscious effort to reshape the national narrative and strengthen ties to Africa's rich heritage, while breaking free from the legacy of its colonial past. To better understand why Niger and Burkina Faso are taking bold steps in renaming their streets from colonial names to patriotic or local names, it's essential to delve deeper into the motivations and historical context behind these changes. These decisions go beyond mere symbolic gestures. They represent a larger movement towards reclaiming sovereignty, dignity, and independence from former colonial powers, specifically France. A few months ago, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso, made a powerful declaration stating that his country would break every tie that kept it in a form of slavery. Since then, we've seen clear evidence that his words were not empty promises. Alongside Mali and Niger, Burkina Faso's leadership has made significant strides in rejecting the lingering influence of colonial powers. Unlike other African leaders who often make grand statements without following through, the Sahelian leaders have demonstrated a strong commitment to their goals. This sentiment is echoed by Niger's leader, General Abdourahmane Tchiani, who recently revealed some shocking details about France's perception of Niger. According to General Chiani, during a video conference in August 2023, a European Union country proposed a peaceful resolution to the crisis in Niger. However, French President Emmanuel Macron reportedly dismissed the suggestion by claiming that Niger belongs to France, indicating France's continuing belief that Niger remains under its control despite its formal independence. This attitude reflects a broader issue in which former colonial powers, particularly France, continue to exert control over African countries through economic, political, and military means. General Chiani's response to Macron was clear and resolute. He declared that Niger is no longer anyone's property and that any country wishing to engage with Niger must do so on equal terms, with mutual respect for sovereignty. He criticized France for failing to recognize Niger's long history and rich political heritage, which predates French colonization. In Chiani's words, Niger belongs to no one, and the time for outside domination is over. He emphasized that Niger and the other Sahelian states, supported by their people, are forging a new path forward based on genuine independence and self-determination. The people of Niger, along with their allies in the region, are determined to protect their newfound autonomy, and with the help of divine will, inshallah, they will not falter. This episode highlights a broader critique of France's lingering influence over its former colonies. Despite decolonization occurring on paper, many African nations remain economically and politically dependent on France. As Chiani and Traoré have pointed out, true independence must be fought for. It is not something that is freely given by former colonizers. This is especially true in the case of Francophone Africa, where countries like Guinea under Sékou Touré were among the few to fully reject French dominance. Other nations were granted a limited form of independence, what Charles de Gaulle referred to as independence in interdependence. However, as Chiani's revelations about Macron suggest, France's attitude toward these nations has not changed significantly since the colonial era. One of the most visible remnants of French colonialism in Africa is the continued use of the CFA franc, a colonial currency still in circulation. For decades, African leaders who have sought to replace the CFA franc with national currencies have faced strong resistance, with some even being assassinated. This currency system is emblematic of the broader neocolonial control that France still wields over its former colonies. By keeping these countries tied to a colonial-era monetary system, France ensures a continued economic dependency. In light of these historical and contemporary realities, the decision by Niger and Burkina Faso to rename streets and landmarks is a symbolic but powerful act of defiance. It signals a rejection of the colonial legacy and an embrace of African identity and autonomy. This move, along with other actions taken by the leaders of the Sahel states, represents a broader movement to dismantle the structures of neocolonialism and reclaim true sovereignty. The renaming of streets is just one of many steps these nations are taking in their journey toward full independence. By reclaiming their public spaces and honoring local heroes, these countries are sending a clear message. They are no longer willing to be defined by their colonial past. Instead, they are looking to their own cultures, histories, and values to shape their future.
Qui respecte notre souveraineté, notre indépendance, qui n'est plus théorique, qui n'est plus que sur papier, une relation, une coopération d'intérêt entre les États, mais dans le respect mutuel, contrairement à ce que les Français veulent nous imposer. Et imaginez, oui, en août 2023, pour vous donner une idée du mépris que la France ou les autorités françaises ont pour le Niger, en août 2023, lorsque nous étions dans les moments les plus tendus, un pays de l'Union européenne avait proposé par visioconférence des pays membres de cette union, oui, une sortie de crise avec le Niger, un apaisement avec le Niger, et proposer d'aller vers le Niger au lieu de s'installer dans une situation, dans une position conflictuelle, d'aller vers le Niger, les autorités du Niger, les nouvelles autorités,
Oui, bien sûr.
pour essayer de négocier. Vous savez ce que Macron a répondu
Non.
à l'autorité de ce pays? Le Niger ne vous appartient pas. Le Niger appartient à la France.
Ah oui.
Et ce n'est pas à vous de proposer quelque solution que ce soit.
Ouais.
Ça s'est passé en août 2023 en visioconférence. Si le pays se reconnaît, il se reconnaît et s'il a le courage, il sortira pour confirmer ce que je viens de vous dire. Le Niger n'appartient pas à ce pays, le Niger appartient à la France. Et ça, c'est Macron qui le dit. C'est Macron, l'ignorant de l'histoire.
Oui.
Parce qu'ils ne savaient pas qu'au moment où eux, ils faisaient leur révolution, nous avons fini le tour du monde. Le Niger, le territoire qu'on appelle le Niger, avait fini le tour du monde. Et le territoire que eux, ils ont appelé le Niger, avait cessé d'expérimenter toutes les organisations sociales en termes politiques. Et c'est ce pays-là que Macron réclame comme étant la propriété exclusive de la France. C'est dans ce cadre que s'inscrit le déplacement du Premier ministre, montrer que le Niger n'est la propriété de personne. Celui qui pense qu'il a des intérêts à défendre au Niger, qu'il vienne négocier avec nous d'égal à égal dans la dignité. Nous nous rendrons là où les intérêts de notre pays nous conduiront. Ça, c'est fini. Ce que les gens ont pensé ou pensent du Niger est révolu à jamais. C'est un Niger nouveau. C'est un Niger et une alliance des États du Sahel qui a compris les enjeux et qui a compris la voie à suivre.